Today, we're going to go over some common maintenance items on a 2008 Honda Civic. Welcome back to the Auto Obsessive Garage. Chadwick with you again for another installment of the Mechanic Roleplay series. And today in the garage, we're going to be pretending to be a mechanic to do the following maintenance items, which means these are pretty much DIYer friendly items to do. There are some caveats we'll get into where you might need some special tools, but here's what we're going to cover today. This applies to any Civic of this generation and pretty similar to almost every Civic. So the common maintenance items we're going to address today are brakes being the biggest thing. You go through brakes, wear and tear item, right? We're going to do brand new pads, brand new rotors, that kind of fun stuff. Stopping is good, I get it. We're going to also do an oil change with oil filter. We're also going to address the air filters, not just the engine air filter, which usually gets changed in a timely manner, but the cabin air filter, which can get gnarly over time, and a lot of people ignore it for some reason, even though it's one of the easiest things to do in the world on this car. So let's get into it. Follow along, you guys. This is going to be something that keeps your Honda Civic running well. Enjoy. Before you even think about jacking your car up, make sure to loosen all the lugs at all four wheels. You want the resistance of the weight of the car pushing down. If you lift the car first, you're going to have a lot of trouble trying to spin these off, even with a good impact. As for what brake pads and rotors I'll be using on this 2008 Honda Civic EX, we're going to go with PowerStop's Evolution series. These are really solid, great value, great performance for the money. So they do have that coating on them, the zinc coating or whatever kind of coating they want to call it. It's the coating that keeps your brake rotors from rusting really quick, so that's definitely worth the money. So we've got the two rears, two fronts, going with the matching Evolution pads. Again, don't super cheap out on this stuff, guys. You don't have to buy the most expensive, but get a quality, trusted brake product. This is the only part of your car that helps you stop. So put some money into it, put some quality into it, and these have been fantastic. I've used them in the past. Also got some brake grease there, just in case we have to re-grease anything, which we probably will because it's been a while since anyone's been in there. But here we go. Here's what we're throwing on our 2008 Honda Civic EX. So we're at the rotor on the passenger side of the Honda Civic. I want to point out two things that make Honda Civic rotors not fun. Boop. These two screws. As you can see, these ones are all pretty stripped looking. Fantastic. So what happens is Johnny at the lube shop goes ahead and twists these bad boys on with a power drill and basically strips them out in the process and sinks them in so hard. You go so long without brake rotor and pad changes, or at least brake rotor changes, that these things become welded in. There's a good amount of rust between the hub and the disc usually, and that's what causes these screws to be stuck in there. Not to mention when you go to extract them, it doesn't help when everything's stripped out. I literally just spent a ton of time drilling out both screws on the driver's side and using an extractor bit to pull it out. So if you don't have specialty tools, you can run into a huge problem with this, guys. So I've been hitting these with PB Blaster. Obviously, you try with the least destructive method possible. So we're gonna start with a regular screwdriver, just kind of ease it out. After that, you can try some hammer blows too. Sometimes shocking it can get the rust loose. But I gotta tell you guys, if you don't know what these are for, this is a good PSA. These are simply to hold the rotor on when you're putting the caliper back on. You can use lug nuts like every other car with floating rotors. You don't need to have these screws. I don't like their design. I think it's a bad design, and I think people don't realize what they're for, and they just put 500 Ugg and Duggas in and set these things so hard that the next person to do brake rotors is screwed. So let's try to get these out. I'm telling you, I better not have to drill these out. It was zero fun. So I'm gonna get in here. I'm gonna actually try to shock this first. Be careful you don't mess your studs up. You can use a nail punch. Send a more direct shock in there. All you're really trying to do is shock that rust loose. Yeah, God, here we go, guys. Moment of truth. Come on, baby, you want to work. I'm using a diamond tip screwdriver, which is a very aggressive big screwdriver. Put some power into her. Yeah, baby! That was enough twisting force to pull off a bear's arm. If I was gonna put that into a visual for you guys. There we go, one screw out. Oh, here we go. Nope. Ooh. Sorry about the visual, but I gotta put me back into it. Nope, this one's rounding. I can feel it. Yep, she's a goner. Gonna use a 1/4-inch drill. I'm gonna use a titanium bit. Titanium's pretty good. I'll go between that and cobalt tip, but titanium cuts in pretty decently. Now these are hardened steel, so they're not very easy to cut into, just so you know. To follow that up, I have an extractor. We'll use that extractor bit in there, and that should back that screw out. When you are screwing, you know, heat is your actual enemy, so get yourself some really good cutting fluid, you know, put it into the area where you're screwing. I always put a little bit on the tip of my bit. There are 8 screws total, so if you have to drill them all out, you could be doing this for an entire long day, that's how my day started. All right, let's see. We're gonna dig into it. This isn't gonna be too pretty to watch, but let's see what we got. Try to get center. Careful now. "15 minutes later. All right, let's try to pull this puppy out. Here we go. I can see her spinning. Ah, the extractor bit worked. Oh, we had to do some damage to that screw though. God dang, these things are annoying. People, take it easy. Do not send these things home like they never need to come out again. Gotta love doing breaks that haven't been done in a long, long time. It's pretty fun. Quite like a Toyga. All right. Ugh, you can see where that CV boot shot grease on the back. That's nice. We'll clean that up at least. And the rotor felt loose. So we got lucky there, right? It's always nice when that pulls right off. So, see ya. Yeah. We want to kind of clean this area up. We'll get some brake clean just to make things a little nicer. Into dirty caliper. Cool. All right, time for some new hardware. Here we go. Here's my trusty C-clamp. It's a 4-incher, if you guys are measuring. Gonna go ahead, and I love brakes. These Honda brakes are nice because there's nothing on the back of the piston right here, so you can get a flat surface to put your clamp on. Some vehicles have their, you know, brake lines and other things back here, and it makes it really hard, but none of those issues with this Honda Civic, so gotta love that. Thinking of the guy having to do the brake job, except for those stupid screws. I guess they it all balances out. All right, so we're gonna get that on there nice and tight. You wanna center mass it on that old brake pad. That's why I put that brake pad back in, and we're gonna use this, tighten it, retract that piston back into the caliper. All right, let's go ahead and pull our happy little pad out there. Thank him for helping us out by resetting that caliper piston. Thanks, buddy. Now it's as easy as taking this old hardware out and putting our new pads in. Time to do the rears on our Honda Civic. And our favorite part of all, of course, just kidding, these damn screws. These ones don't look too harsh, but looks can be deceiving, my friends. 37 minutes later. I am exhausted. Oh my God, yes. Here they are, completely drilled out screws. Just a heads up guys, if you're a DIYer, you gotta be honest with yourself sometimes. If you don't have the extraction tools or the drill bits I have, I'd go ahead and check your screws first because you're gonna be stuck there. There's no sense in even pulling anything else apart, disconnecting your calipers or whatever if you can't even get the rotors off. So go ahead and try those screws first. If you get stuck there, then you probably have to rely on a shop or get some tools. But just a heads up guys, if you don't have any kind of extraction tools or good drill bits, this could be a serious stopping point. All right, rears are gonna be a little different guys. I told you it'd be some fun variety today. So what are we doing different, you ask? Well, let's take a peek. First off, your e-brake is integrated into the caliper. That's something different. That's why that caliper probably looks so much different from the front. I'm gonna show you how to get that caliper off. How you retract the caliper or the piston into the caliper is also different. You're gonna need a special tool for that. You can use pliers, but I like to use the appropriate tool when possible. So let's go ahead and do that. Also, another thing to note is this e-brake cable running back here is extremely short. So when you remove the caliper, you're not gonna have a lot of play. I like to go remove that little bracket first. It's a little 12mm bracket back there. Single bolt, pull it off, and the cable kind of releases some slack, and you have a little bit more room to move your caliper, which is nice. And we're also gonna remove on this one, we are gonna remove not the whole caliper assembly is one. We're gonna remove the top from the bottom. So I'm gonna remove that 12mm in the front first. There we go. You can take the e-brake cable, you can see me moving it now. You get that little bit of extra slack right back here, and that's gonna help a little bit when you go to remove that caliper, which it's time to do right now. So we're gonna remove the top of the caliper first, 12mm bolts. These guys don't usually need you to retain this nut right here to remove, so let's just see if we can do that. Here we go, not too bad at all actually. You see how little room we have, and we only have a little bit more because we were smart. I like to use a jack stand again to support that. Okay, you can see our pads now in the lower bracket there, so you can go ahead and pull your pads too at this point. Holy crap, these ones are extremely worn down. Woo hoo hoo hoo. Look at that. Can you guys see that? Jeez, almost no pad life. Brand new thick new pad versus the old yowzers. Time to remove our caliper bracket. That's going to be the big juicy 14s. There you go, caliper bracket is out. So you got a couple options here. If your rotor's stuck on here, you do have these nice little holes, or if you find the right thread pitch bolt, you can run it through there and it separates the rotor from the hub. That's a solid way to do it. Or if you don't really care a lot, if you're not reusing your rotors, give them some pounds. Hit the spot just right. Boom, usually just a little rust back there holding it on. Groovy. Let's clean some of this stuff up. Okay, retracting this piston on the rear caliper of an 08 Civic. So you can see the orientation, there's like a cross shape. One of the sides has to be pointing up. As you can see on the brake pad, the rear brake pad, there is a little tab that sticks out, and that will have to go in there. So that's important when you do this. I'll remind you when we get there. As far as retracting that back, basically you're tightening it so you're going right and screwing the piston back in. And that's how you do it. You cannot force this, folks. If you try to force this, you can cause some damage, but more than likely you won't do anything. So don't try it. You want to use a special tool. I've seen people do it with pliers. That's fine too. There shouldn't be too much resistance unless there's a lot of rust in there. But I use a tool like this, just a simple brake tool kit. It's got the two tabs here that go into whatever section you want, locks behind the actual front of the caliper, and you simply twist, keep adjusting this part, and you walk that piston back into the caliper. So pretty straightforward. I do a lot of cars in the shop, so I have a variety of tools. But if you don't have something like this, you can scoop it up. It's pretty much a universal brake kit. Just, it'll have something for Hondas for sure. They're a good investment if you're gonna be doing a lot of brakes. But let's go ahead and push that piston back in. Okay, cool, all the way in. Once it stops retracting, you are good. Let's go ahead and loosen this bad boy up. Okay, get him back out of the way over here. Tuck him back. Time for a shiny new rotor, guys. Time to put our new pads on, and that means greasing up them ears. All right, time to pull our caliper with the retracted piston. Hopefully she slides right over. Nice and easy, lemon squeezy if you will. Thank you, jack stand. You did a great job. There we go. So sometimes when you go to tighten these, that little nut right there will spin, and then you won't be able to tighten all the way, so. And if it's spinning, just grab a 17, put it on that nut, you should be able to commence with the tightening. And time to tighten our big bolts. Time to do an oil change in our 2008 Civic EX. So recommended oil for that is 5W20 fully synthetic, so we got some mobile one there. Also picked up a nice Wix filter. Had good luck with them, so we'll be using that. Here's our filter number, just in case you guys need that at home. You're gonna need a funnel of some sort, a ratchet, and that's to get the oil drain plug out. I like to use this claw as my oil filter removal tool. Use whatever you're comfortable with, but I really love this design. Little extension to make life easier. And that's all you need to really do this oil change. You're gonna use 4 quarts of this stuff, by the way. Now underneath the car, locating that oil drain plug is pretty easy on the Honda Civic. They even have an engine oil. It's upside down from where we're at, but you can see right there. Got your little drain plug right here. It's a 17 millimeter, like just about everything else is on this car. So go ahead and pull that off and drop the oil out into our drain pan. Also, if you're wondering where the filter is, super easy, right there, right next to the oil pan. So that's really easy. Gonna use our tool and spin that off, put our new one on. Of course, the Incredible Hulk was in here before me. Guys, you don't need to tighten this drain plug like that. Whew! Gotta go easy on these things. This is an aluminum drain pan. I'm trying to torque down head bolts here. I'm gonna have to use a breaker bar. This is too much, guys. Jeez, when you have to use a 1/2-inch breaker bar to get a drain pan bolt out, you guys gotta go easy on these cars, man. That's pretty thick looking oil coming out, so she's definitely due for an oil change. Alright, time to spin this oil filter off while we're waiting for the remaining oil to drain out of the engine. This tool is so awesome. Yeah, it's pretty old looking oil coming out of that filter too, so definitely due for a change. Okay, after tightening on your drain pan, it's time to put your new oil filter on. You want to go ahead and take some oil. The oil that just dripped out is fine, and go around the rim here. Just get this O-ring or this little rubber gasket here lubricated before you install. Keep in mind that you only need to hand tighten these guys. You don't need to use a wrench to install an oil filter. So this is tough to film with one hand, but let's see what we can do. Of course, I gotta clean it up now because I dropped it in my oil pan. Just spin her on and get her nice and tight. Clean up the little mess we made here. You want to hand tighten it because what happens is that when it goes through heat cycles, your oil filter really tightens up anyway. That's why you always need to use a tool to remove it, but you don't need to use a tool to install it. If you actually do that, it can be really impossible to take off in the future. So twist it so it won't twist anymore and you're good. Okay, now we're under the hood of the car. Pull off your oil cap. Obviously, don't forget to install your oil filter, tighten that up in the oil drain plug before the next step because you will be pouring new oil onto the floor. Get yourself a funnel that fits. Civic is a little challenging because the cowl comes out so far, so actually just drop something in like that would be fine. Oil of choice is synthetic. 5W20 is the weight. So we've got some Mobile One here. It takes 4 quarts. So let's put 4 quarts in it and she should be good. When you put in 4 quarts, check the dipstick. See where you're at. And we're good. Awesome. Fresh oil. Done. Next on our maintenance list for our 08 Honda Civic is air filter changing. It's pretty basic stuff. So we've got an engine air filter and we've got a cabin air filter. Now these, obviously we're gonna do this one right here since it's under the engine bay. These get changed often. Folks are pretty good about these. Cabin filters can go on for a long time. And there's something I wanna tell you. A lot of people change their cabin air filters and they're still getting kind of a dirty, rotten smell or kind of like a musty kind of smell. A lot of times that comes from this kind of stuff, guys. Where your car pulls your air in, if there's a lot of rotten leaf debris and things like that up around the cowl area, it can make the air smell bad even through a fresh filter. So we're gonna vacuum this out too. Let's pop this engine air filter out of here. Should just be a series of tabbies. Yeah. All right, not looking too clean already. That's a bad sign. Usually it's the bottom side that's more dirty. Yep. Definitely due for that. Cool, pretty dirty air filter. And check in here too, you usually find some leaf debris. Or a plastic clip that went somewhere else in the car. That definitely shouldn't be in there. Huh. Dropping our new air filter. Nice pretty yellow, look at that. Just because it's an easy job doesn't mean it's an unimportant one, guys. Always change your air filters real easy. It's where your engine's breathing. Engine air filter replaced. Time to do that cabin filter. Just open your glove box, push the sides together. Let it kind of drop down. It's probably going to empty its contents, so you might have to go back in there and clean that up after. Pretty easy though. You got 2 tabs on either side here. Oh my god! Guys, this has gotta be the original. Who's ready to look at this? Oh my gosh. It's actually like just full of debris. Yeah, okay, time for a new air filter. Real easy cabin air filter to do on these cars. And we're done with the cabin air filter. Whenever I do a lot of work to someone's car, I like to throw in a nice bonus. Now, driving this car at night is kind of sketchy because these headlights are so dim. Look at the oxidization, look how yellow. Why don't we bring these back to life? I think the owner would like that very much. Gonna use one of my favorite products of all time, Meguiar's Plastics. That's looking pretty impressive. Let's get some more on there, shall we? Well, I just got back from test drive, shaking down the Civic, and I'm gonna tell you what, guys, this brake change made a huge difference. Before, any kind of hard to moderate braking, you got a real good shudder through the steering wheel and could feel it through your pedal. That's totally gone. These new pads and rotors really smooth things out, and they stop really strong. Very even braking, no juddering or anything. It's just a very smooth, consistent braking. Of course, I followed the bed-in procedures where you have to do some acceleration and braking down to 10 miles an hour repeatedly. And that's just to bed your pads with your rotors. It's a good thing to do. Don't just drive normally. I mean, most brakes, it's gonna be fine under normal daily conditions, but to bed them in correctly does prolong the life of the pad and rotor. So great feeling. Obviously the engine oil, the engine like that, no real perceivable difference there, and the new filters worked also. So headlights look a lot nicer, that's for sure. But yeah, guys, very big difference with the braking. So super happy to do those, and I can't wait to give it back to the owner. I'm sure she's gonna greatly enjoy the things we did to this car. So this is a nice little way to do some basic maintenance on your 2008 Honda Civic. Hope this helps you guys out, and we'll see you in the future. Take care.